I love that you're all here. And I love that you are all, that you all saw the other sessions. Tiffany was amazing. And I know the other sessions were great as well. But today, you're going to have fun with us. So sit tight, grab a cafecito or a decaf like me. I have my decaf right here. Yes. Yes, because if I have a full coffee, I am going to never finish. So first things first, I do want to introduce myself. Some of you may or may not know me, but my name is Anna Roa, and I am the VPK Regional Facilitator for the Division of Early Learning. Yes, I'm all yours. I am from I cover Broward County, and I cover North Miami-Dade. And this is my fabulous partner.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Felicidades. Happy Saturday. My name is Karla Sotelo-Blanco. I am also a VPK Regional Facilitator, just like my partner. And I do cover Miami-Dade County and Monroe. And once again, thank you for being here with us today.
All right, so excited to start. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. This is your agenda for today. We're going to talk about those session outcomes. We're gonna go over the oral language and vocabulary, and then we're gonna see how the vocabulary implementation is so important to our children. And then we're gonna dig deep into those language strategies that you can implement in your preschool classroom. And then afterwards, yes. How is this going to make those connections to our standards? I call them the FELTS. That's an acronym for Florida Early Learning and Developmental Standards. And then, of course, we cannot forget about class. No. We're going to make those connections to class as well. And then at the end, we're going to be sad to see you all go, but you all need to go back to that closing session because there are wonderful treats waiting for you all. But we're going to give you our contact information just in case you might need to contact us later. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, so our session, by the end of the session, you're all going to learn different strategies for old language and vocabulary, and of course, on how to implement various strategies throughout the preschool day. So we're gonna go ahead and go to the next one. So now, let me ask you all a question. Go ahead and look at your chat and answer this question before we start talking about what is oral language and vocabulary. So here's the question for you all, and I'm gonna try my hardest to read everyone's responses because I know there's a lot of you today, but here we go. Why do you think oral language and vocabulary is important to our preschool age children? Go ahead and write it in the chat. And I will go ahead and, like I said, do my best to read your responses. So go ahead and write it. Why do you think oral language and vocabulary is important to our preschool age children? Yeah, because we want to make sure there's communication going on, right? Developing clear communication and understanding communication is key. I see that. Absolutely. Yes. Because this is the way they learn. Absolutely. Communication, growth in order to develop future communication skills. Yes, communication is so important. So that they'll be able to express themselves. Yes, in Spanish, I see, porque se pueden expresar y que ellos comuniquen todo lo que necesitan hacerlo. Yes. To help their vocabulary grow. Para incrementar su comunicación. Yes, to learn how to really express their feelings. This is where the whole social emotional plays out. And it really, really is important for them to be able to do that. So now let's talk about talking. The technical term is oral language and vocabulary. And we are going to look at how children's expressive and receptive skills. That's what we're going to see. And usually we just call them speaking, right? And listening. So oral language is the foundation for not only literacy, but also academic success. Having a firm foundation of oral language really helps children become successful readers and communicators. Like you said right now in the chat, communication is key, which also increases not only their literacy skills, but also for learning in the rest of the content areas. So having a strong language also increases their vocabulary skills, because as research has showed us that the more interactions and the more conversation children have in the first 5 years, that leads to knowing more words and therefore having that increased vocabulary. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, and we also need to put our class lengths. Remember class? Yes, our class lengths. And of course, we need to make sure we connect this back to our instructional support domain. Okay, let's go. Next slide. We have a lot to learn. So for oral language and vocabulary, it typically works in 3 broad steps, as you see on your screen. Within a child's first year of life, they can begin to name a few things. For example, the word cat, milk, bottle, and dog. So things in their environment that they see or use in every day. So when they go on to being 18 months, a child's expressive vocabulary is already 10 to 50 words. Can you believe that? So when they go on to by age 2, a child's expressive vocabulary continues to grow to 50, from 50 all the way to 200 words, and can speak in 2-word phrases. When they go on to pre-K 3, age 3, a child's expressive vocabulary is approximately 500 words. 500 words. How amazing. And they can speak 3 to 4 sentences using verbs. Now, when they go on to our age 4, these are our preschoolers. Okay. A child's expressive vocabulary is approximately 1,000 words. How amazing, right? 1,000 words. And they can share ideas when they speak. So by the time they go to kindergarten, the best thing about this is that a child's expressive vocabulary is already roughly around 1,500 words. So, however, there's a really big factor here that is related to how big a child's vocabulary is. And this is how much parents and any other trusted adults talk to the child. So the more experiences they have, the bigger the vocabulary. Okay, the less experiences, the smaller the vocabulary. All right, next slide. All right, so we're going to go ahead and let's take a look at how experiences help children vocabulary. And we're going to watch a video of Dr. Washington. This is such a great video, and feel free to take notes because this is Dr. Washington. She's an expert in the field. And she's going to explain the importance of language and literacy development in preschool age children. And notice, I want you to notice how she differentiates between 2 terms. One of them is world knowledge, and the other one is word knowledge. Ready? All right, take some notes.
Vocabulary is made up primarily of 2 elements, that children learn vocabulary based on world knowledge and word knowledge. World knowledge is experiential. It's the experiences that you have in your life that you learn from that develop vocabulary. Word knowledge is the mental dictionary. It's the thesaurus. It's the words in your head that you use to figure out what's going on in the world around you. You have to have both in order to have a strong vocabulary. Children take their world knowledge and their word knowledge, put them together, and develop vocabulary. That's what vocabulary is. When we see children who have poor vocabularies, if they're not language impaired, which most of them aren't, what we find is that those children don't have a lot of experiences. And so their world knowledge impacts in a negative way their word knowledge. So we want to be sure that kids have experiences. That's what field trips are supposed to be for. But in the absence of a field trip, world knowledge is also learned through books. And so the more we introduce reading to children and the earlier we introduce it to them, the more world knowledge they develop.
So just like Dr. Garver was just saying right now to us, children need to have both world knowledge and word knowledge in order to have the strong vocabulary. And we need to make sure that we're providing those experiences when it comes to that world knowledge. And we want to make sure that they continue to grow their vocabulary through many experiences, throughout their school day. It's not just small group. It's not just centers. It's not just outside. We want to make sure that we are growing that vocabulary so that that vocabulary becomes part of their daily language. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go on. Next slide. All right, so children have two types of vocabulary, expressive and receptive, as you can see on the screen. Expressive are the words they use in their speech, and receptives are the words they can understand. So typically in preschoolers, their receptive vocabulary is bigger than their expressive vocabulary. So as stated before, typically by the end of VPK here, children have an expressive vocabulary of about 1,500 words. However, they have a receptive vocabulary of about 6,000 to 8,000 words. How amazing is that? And they can understand more than they can pretty much say, which is important to remember when you teach 4-year-olds, because we should never, ever underestimate them. So dual language learners, are dual language learners who develop strong expressive and receptive language skills in both languages also have that potential to become proficient readers and writers, of course, in multiple language. And of course, they can transfer skills and knowledge between languages, leading to improved literacy outcomes. So dual language learners' exposure to multiple language also exposes them to a broader range of literature and text, fostering their reading comprehension and, of course, their critical thinking abilities. We're going to learn more about that. I love this next slide. It's such a great visual. So let's take a look at this. This is called a tier pyramid. And let's think about what these tier means. So the words here get categorized into those tiers that you see. Tier 1 words are basically everyday words that children hear, okay? They know what these words are simply because they are in their environment and they are mostly used. For example, when the children are playing outside and transitioning to the cafeteria for lunch, you're probably going to hear words like table or door. I want to open the door, right? Or chair, crayon, and maybe chocolate. Those of them who love chocolate. So when we go to tier 2 words, these are general academic words. What does that mean, academic words? Well, it means that these words are more mature in preschool, and they're seen across those different concepts. For example, these words can be introduced throughout the preschool day and in small groups, right? Whole groups, and of course, story time. So, examples of words in this tier: curious, embarrassed, protective, leader, and of course, compromise. Okay. Tier 3 words. These are content-specific words. For example, if you're working on a science theme, okay, let's pretend you are. I love science. I'm a big nerd. I love science, and I am a big science nerd. I love it. I love it. So think about that. And you know what? I just got to say this. If you love a particular subject, go ahead and show them that you love it. Give them that love for what you do or for what you learn, because you know what? You are the weather makers of their classroom. You simply are. So if you love a particular subject or a particular activity, guess what? Your children are going to love it as well. So getting back to tier 3 words, if you're working on a science theme, you're going to be able to introduce the following words, right? You know what? Let me ask them. What kind of words can you introduce when you're working on a science theme? Go ahead, put it on the chat. Think about science words. Think about words that maybe they don't know. and then they will learn later. Hypothesis. Yes, 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 yes. Hypothesis, an educated guess. Oh, amazing. Look at all those big words you're all coming up with. Compost, eruption, prediction, investigate, magnets, analysis, chemicals. Oh my, this is so many. I love it. Give me more science words. I love this. So think about how amazing it would be for them to know what the word hypothesis is. And of course, once they learn what that is, can you imagine them using it throughout the day? And you know what? Not only throughout their school day, they can go back home. Can you imagine that? They're telling their parents that, you know, I have a hypothesis today about today's weather. Who knows? How great. So we're going to learn a little bit about more on the next slide. All right. So now that we talk about words, so when introducing new vocabulary words, it's important to use child-friendly definition, okay? Creating short and simple definition takes some practice. So be sure to use synonyms and words that young children are likely to understand when you create these definitions. For example, the child-friendly definition of seaweed is a plant that grows in the ocean. While children may not be familiar with the word seaweed, okay, they're gonna most likely be familiar with the words plant, right? And the words ocean, and they're gonna learn that seaweed is a plant that grows in the ocean, right? Okay, I know I still have you there. Okay, so we're going to the next slide because now I'm gonna make you do something fun. Okay, so let's take a look over here. Now, what you're going on to do, yes, I'm gonna ask you all to help me with this. You are all going, take a look at this, at the words. There's lots of words on the slide for you all to see. So I want you to review all these words, the ones that are red and the ones that are yellow, okay? Now, I want you to choose one word today. And when you choose that one word, I want you to create a child-friendly definition. Remember what I said, what a child-friendly definition was? A child-friendly definition needs to be understood by a preschool age child. So let's go ahead and see. I'm going to choose one. Let's see. I'm going to choose the word opinion. Okay. So when I think about opinion, my child-friendly definition can be what people think about something or someone. Okay. So once you have created a child-friendly definition, please make sure you write it on the chat so that we can all see what you all have in store. So write the word, go ahead, and then write the child-friendly definition. And I will do my best to read everybody's. So go ahead and do that. I'll give you a minute or two to do that. Oh, and some of you are quicker than others.
Yep,
So,
you have a lot of them replying quickly.
All right. So surprise, happy. I see a lot of you have chosen the word. Now go ahead and find a child-friendly definition and put that word right next to it, okay? Oh, community, grupo de personas que viven en el mismo vecindario, pueblo o ciudad.
That's my favorite word.
Amazing. Afortunado, organizar, respetar a sus compañeros. Culture, people from different places. Yes. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. Twirl, turn around in a circle. And you can actually show them what that means. You can act out the word. This will be amazing in so many, you know, in so many levels, especially the way a child learns. Some of them, this is going to be amazing for your visual learners, your kinesthetic learners, your auditory learners, right? Balance, surprise. Let me see. Community, people who live around you. Oh my God, community. I love that. Community is such a great word. And you know what? You can always give them an example. You give the definition, you provide them an example. A community is like our classroom community, right? We're all together and we all share, you know, different perspective. We all share our toys. We all share, you know, things like that. I'm running out of words in my head. Community, personas que viven, respetar el cuerpo de cada uno.
Yeah.
Respetar turno para jugar. Yes. Yes. Let me see. Wonderful. I see a sorpresa, algo que le agrada y causa placer. Organize, to sort by color or size. I love that. And that sounds like a math term, right? And then you can include it into a math domain. To the bounds, connecting it to the standards. Wonderful. Let me see. I'm looking. Helpful, love. I see a lot of you have chosen community. Combine, putting things together or objects together. Oh, gosh, you know what? I'm going to save this chat and then I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I read all your wonderful responses because you are all great. I love how everyone is thinking about how you can think of a big word and then put it into a definition that your preschool children will be able to understand. Okay? Wonderful. I see that you practice, but you know what? You can always practice some more. Remember, this might not be, you know, now that, you know, sometimes we're starting to do an activity and we're like, this is a little hard, Anna, to put it into a child-friendly definition, but it's okay. It could take some practice. Don't be discouraged. All right. Whoa, 97 messages to go. So, all right. So wonderful. So now what I want you to really think. Now, I want all of us to get honest here for a second. Okay. So, and of course, this is a judgment-free zone because I guarantee you what I'm about to ask you. I have done it too. I have. So when you want to introduce a word, okay, how many of you have asked straight away without giving any context or meaning? Who knows what this word means? Raise your hand. How many of you have asked that question? Oh, yes. Yes. Thank you for being so honest. Yes. And it's okay. It's okay. Remember, I said it's a judgment-free zone. You're okay. So I know it's a common practice, right? It's a common practice. However, can I give you all a suggestion? Would you take my suggestion? Okay. So how about instead of asking if your students know what a word means, we can define it first, right? We can define it first, and then we can provide them the right definition. Because what most likely will happen if you ask them what the definition is that children are going to provide different definitions. You know that will happen. Everybody's going to raise their hand and they're all going to provide their own definition, right? And based on those definitions, some of them may not be accurate, which can create a confusion for that particular meaning of a word. So once you provide the accurate definition first, then later on, when you're working on that particular story or activity, then right then and there, you can ask them, remember this word that we were working on? Who can tell me? I know you all know the definition because we worked on this since Monday, right? Who can tell me what this means again? And then they're going to raise your hand and they're going to give you and provide you with the right definition. It does make sense, right? I see some of the comments. So make sure, and of course, this involves in your pre-planning. Make sure that you're pre-planning. It is so important to do this. And yes, teachers should introduce and define unfamiliar words, unfamiliar vocabulary words first. So yes, children can get the correct information to associate with the new word. Okay? Yes? Wonderful. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and give that microphone to my amazing partner, Karla. You ready, Karla?
Yes, and I am so glad that Anna gave, a little background of what interactions are, right? And what conversation you should be having, and also those enriched vocabulary. So now we're going to jump on how we're going to increase those amazing vocabulary strategies, right? Talking about the opportunity happening in the classroom. So I'm going to give you some great ideas here. I'm going to give you some example too. So take notes, ladies. So once we're talking about vocabulary strategies, right? It's very important that we use direct instructions and also indirect instruction. And how you can see here, we provided you just simple definition. When we're talking about direct instruction, teacher formally introduced words with definition and use it in a context. Anna just gave you one of them that you all did amazing as practicing a child-friendly definition. And when we're talking about indirect instructions, look at this, ladies and gentlemen, if we have in our audience, children use words in conversations, right? Outside of the direct instruction and while listening to a conversation and reading. That is important. We might be doing this in the classroom, but you didn't think about, wait, is this indirect or this is direct, right? How do we promote these conversations happening? How do we increase those vocabularies for our children? If you have come to one of our sessions, Anna and I will do the dialogic reading and we show you this format to do it. If you've come to our book embedded, choosing that correct book. And Anna said, we got to do the pre-planning before doing that, right? And also, if you have come for scaffolding, think, show, and tell, and talk, we show you those techniques. You're going to be able to adapt that with our children in the classroom. And ladies, this comes along with you as you go on throughout the day and also how you interact that with your children. So that is important to know about those two terms there. Now, when we're talking about advanced language, class, now we're talking about class, so everyone should be familiar with this, and some of you might be already got observed, right? So did you know that advanced language is connected with language modeling? Raise your hand. Yep, Anna, raise your hand because I know you know this one too. Yeah, Anna knows. So language modeling domain in class. Children build vocabulary when they are able to link more words and terms with familiar words. Isn't that amazing? Ladies, once again, those words need to be seen and heard around everywhere in the classroom. Clarifying those words that you think that might not be new for children or they are new, you could show them how it is being pronounced, how do you say it, how do we put it in a sentences, how do we put it together, right? And talk about these words in simple terms that relates to children's life. Ladies, connected it to real life application. There we go. Between in the classroom, outside the classroom, how you could relate that with the children's experiences. And also when mapping the action, we gotta map those actions, ladies. Provide opportunity for peer interaction and model the conversation. Once you start doing that, children are gonna follow through that conversation, interactions, and so on. And guess what? You're going to have a fantastic year. If you are mapping those actions, giving them familiar words, providing, connections through their real life application, you're going to have a fantastic year. Your lesson plans are going to be impacted and so on. Okay. So more modeling conversations in your classrooms. Now, you may have all seen this in our website. And if you haven't taken advantage, this is going to help you. We're talking about now language and literacy domain. This is our crosswalk with our standards all the way to 4-year kindergarten and also our best that is from K through 3rd grade. Ladies, this is amazing because why? This is an age progression, right? You want to know where your child stands. So we're looking at C, that is vocabulary, right? We're talking about showing understanding the words and their meaning being receptive. So we're talking about here the receptive part when we're talking about vocabulary, because remember, we want to increase those vocabulary and enrich that as often as we can in the classroom. We could see that in the benchmark for the 4-year-old, we have A, B, and C. As you move on, through the years with the kindergarten, they have their own standards. That's vocabulary. Also, you're going to see the 1st grade has it, 2nd grade has it, and 3rd grade has it. This is where you encourage and discuss the meaning of words to those children. We want to be able to do it as orally or in a small group, individual group, in a large group. But this is how you're going to be able to see where your children's are and what you're going to be teaching in your lesson and how you're going to put it together, to have a successful year, and applying all those benchmark as children move on to one area to the next area. So it's really important that we focus on that. As we continue, now we go to the second part of vocabulary, right? So now we go to uses increased vocabulary to describe objects, actions, and events. So now we're talking about what? Expresses, right? Expressive language. Again, this is how you're going to be able to see how you move on and how you could scaffold and see that progression if the child is ready to go on, or you move, go back, right? So again, you could see this on the kindergarten session, 1st grade, 2nd grade, and 3rd grade. One great example here, right? For example, if you're going to the zoo, right? Make sure that you talk to the children. We're going on a field trip, and then hold the conversations with them, right? And think about what conversations you're going to have, and also ask them a question. What you think we might see in the zoo, right? So children are going to tell you what, maybe we're going to see a tractor, right? Goats, we're going to see cows and farm. And that's how you are being labeling those vocabularies as an action and event, because they're expressing, children speak, right? Children tells you everything, even what happens at home, what happens at the park. So this is how the way you're going to be able to express. And Anna went over this too. They got to build vocabulary like 1,000 words, right? Or 1,500. The more that children are exposed, the better they're going to be later on. And readers too. So imagine how many words we got to introduce. And we got to get away from the same repetitions, right? We got to have new words. And like Miss Tiffany said, we got to speak to them in strong words, not the babbling word, right? Blah, 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 because then that stays with them and they move on and they don't move forward to continue with their vocabularies. Okay, so now we're going to jump to the oral language. Whew. We finished the vocabulary, ladies. So now we're going to lower oral language that is important, right? So we can improve the way we talk, especially when we have our dual language. Now we have Creole, we got the Spanish, we got the first time children coming to school. How do we promote that? So looking into vocabulary instruction and standards, right? We're going to go beyond that. The big takeaway, when I was in the classroom is that we have busy days. We all have busy days, and how do we make that day, affordable? How do we make it in reach? And how do we give our students lots of the time for them to understand what is being taught with them, right? It's so much, and how do we enrich that? So we're gonna go on and tell you the importance of oral language. And remember, oral language is truly the foundation of not only building early literacy, right? Later reading and life success. We want them to feel comfortable. We want them to feel successful. Oh man, I know how to read. I already know how to put words together, right? And we want them to be able to share wants, needs, thoughts, right? Feelings and ideas, and be able to understand, and them also to be understood, and hear when they also have to share something. Make sure that you're there to hear what they have to say to you. And with others too, if it's teacher with teachers, your assistant, you're in a teacher, We are a teacher only because we have names and, you know, oh, I'm the teacher. Oh, no, she's just the assistant. No, she's also a teacher. You gotta listen to each other. It's really important that we focus on that. So now we're gonna jump within the over language, the umbrella. Now we're going to the language strategies. And the first thing is scaffolding, ladies. You have 10 events here that you should be able to implement this in the classroom with your children. And a lot of them, you probably might be doing them, right? So narrative, the events, what happens there? We gotta be able to let the children know what's gonna happen during the day, right? Or what we're gonna be doing outside when we go out to the playground. Creating silly situation. If you have come to our scaffolding course, we tell you, we gave you some ideas, we show you videos. Create silly situation and see what the reaction of your children's are. 3, encourage peer-to-peer conversation. Hey, you could have it as open as you want and help children understand that, right? 4, using a specific language. It's really important that we focus on how do we use that specific language to our children. Even if you have to do it 3 times, English or just Spanish, but we want to focus that they understand that. 5, model that desire response, super important on that. Hey, repetition. Let me say it one more time. Maybe let me show them to them in a picture, right? Visual for them to understand. Alternate the routines, right? Make fun in those routines, make changes. I used to make dramatic play in the supermarket. Let's build the supermarket. One day I created an igloo, right? I created the North Pole. Be creative. More things that is being exposed to those areas, children be like, oh, teacher, I saw something there new. Hey, you know you're gonna have a conversation there and you're just gonna start building those language, right? Promote chosen making. Have children choose the different areas they want to play or what material is being exposed to them. I know that you might like, oh, I don't want him to touch the art, right? The paint that is up there. Ladies, they have to be exposed to anything. Open materials for them. Expand children respond. Hey, how often do we expand those response to our children, right? How can we provide that quality of feedback when we're talking about that? It's super important. And number 9, provide opportunities where help is needed. Ladies, we need to help those children. One of your students comes up, teacher, I need help. Yeah. In a minute. No, that's the moment that you're gonna be able to help him because maybe he needs your attention that moment, not later on. You gotta be supported. You need to help them. Maybe it might be something, you know, it's gonna take away from your lesson, but just given that opportunity. Present words with pictures and objects. We've told you before, if you, like I said, you've come to any of our session, pictures are important. First is the picture, then comes the writing, then comes, you know, the reading and everything else. But first is the picture and name those objects. Sometimes we give example. Jose, bring me that. Bring what to you? Jose, can you bring the red book that is on top of the table? Description words, right? And naming the event. You're telling him where to go, right? Maybe go get me the book that is on top of the dramatic play that is red. Very objective, right? We gotta be able to object that. When we're talking again about scaffolding, now we're jumping to the class connection. Yes, lady, just like Anna said, put your glasses on, your lessons on, because looking at the over language and vocabulary through the class lens. This is very important when we're talking about the instructional support. You know, we have 3 of them. Yes, you know, we have concept development, quality of feedback, and we have language modeling. For this one, for scaffolding, we're talking about quality of feedback. We're giving you the 2 definition, and we're also providing you with 2 examples. This is how the way you should be seeing this in your classroom or anyone that goes to observe you. Oh, let me see how they are adapting that quality of feedback, right? In the conversations they have or in the project. When we're talking about, again, scaffolding, give children hints and help when they have trouble completing the activity or understanding the concept. You're providing that support. And how do we see it when we're talking about quality of feedback? Listening and responding to children help support their understanding as they addresses the gap in knowledge. Once again, those are 2 examples that we're providing you. And also you should be able to adapt that, right? We want to encourage children to work on that. And you as a teacher, as a professional, we want you to work on quality of feedback and connect the learning that is happening in the classroom. If it's in a lesson plan, if it's a project, if it's a theme, or it's a project that you're doing with your children, we want to see this being adapted in the classroom. The next thing we're going to talk about, this is my favorite. Anna knows I could talk and talk. Well, we all could talk, right, Anna? So 2 is conversation. Even if it's English, Chinese, Portuguese, Spanish, English, whatever conversation is conversation, ladies, right? High quality conversation. Are we seeing this in the classroom? Teacher, pero yo hablo. ¿Hablas qué? ¿Qué estamos hablando? What are we speaking, right? Not just to talk. No, we gotta have those high quality conversation. Talking to children in a pleasant tone of voice. Yes, that means positive climate. Eye contact in a voice that children could hear, not the screaming ones, just pleasant, right? Give children your full attention. Yes, we need that full attention. Only because you're here and the little ones are here, you'll be like, let me talk to you. No, get to that children's level. Again, that's positive climate. And also what? Teacher sensitivity, because you're being sensitive to the children's attention. 3, providing meaningful and specific response. Okay, for that definition also, or for the response of the child. How do you provide that response to that? If it's a short answer, is it a complete answer or nothing, right? And asking open-ended question. Yes, and I think we heard it also with Miss Tiffany at the beginning, the keynote lady. She said, having those open questions. It's super important to provide that to those children, because this is where you are creating what? Those amazing conversation that coming back and forth, right? And language modeling. So let's see, how do we see that in the class lens? Okay, look, I got my glasses. You see, Anna, you shouldn't wear your glasses today. Let's see. Yeah, Anna is wearing them. So again, we're going to the instructional support. Guess what? Language modeling. Woo-hoo. So we have language modeling as one of our, domains and our dimensions. So we have conversation. Look at this. Many conversation occurs between children and staff and among children that promotes opportunity for language use. Simple as that, lady. I mean, we cannot give you that more opportunities that happening in the classroom. How do we see it in the language modeling? Model the language using the specific language with variety parts of speech and vocabulary. That means what? Verbs, nouns, adjectives, right? We are gotta be able to show that speech or part of speech. The more that children are exposed, the better they're gonna be able to describe and communicate the things they want to say to you, right? We're also giving you 2 amazing examples for conversations, and we're giving you 1 example for language modeling. So take the opportunity and see, let me see if I'm already doing this, right? Look at the one that it says conversation. Use new and specific vocabulary in mix of short and long sentences to expose children to more language. For example, the child says, yeah, read book. That's short. But how are you going to be able to expand that, to have it a complete sentences with the period at the end? Oh, I see you're saying that you have a red book with you, right? That's more, and then able to understand. And again, could be all day long, lady, and not just when you're dealing in language or when you're reading. Could be every day exposed in the classroom. Now, how do we see that as we connect it to the standards? So we already saw that we had the first one, that it was vocabulary. Now we're going to listening and understanding. Listening and understanding. And we have our 2 benchmark there. And this one is demonstrate understanding when listening. If we don't understand, there's no listening happening, right? So we've got to be able to have that also communication with our children when it comes to the 4-year-old. Now, when we jumped to the kindergarten all the way to third grade, we're talking about communication and reading for them, right? But again, this is just to help you as a progression, right? This is what we want to focus when our children are on those grade levels. If we do not go back to these ladies, those kids are going to be lost, right? And guess what? You're going to be having a hard time too. Right? Jose didn't get this lesson, did not pass the test. Well, how often did you went back? How often did you scaffold them, right? Or you only did it at one time. Children needs to do it repetition. And if you ladies do that lesson one time, then you don't feel like you were successful. That go back and do it twice. Maybe a whole week until all of your 15 children has the lesson completed, right? They need to be able to do that. How do we see this on understanding, demonstrating understanding and listening? Show and tell. Everybody loves show and tell. This is one that they like, oh, teacher, I want to share. Or the brown bag. I used to have a brown bag and let them, take it out and be able to show and tell. Reading aloud also. Have this as a large group and small group. This is where also you're going to be able to have their own experiences, right? And guess what? And asking children the what, the who, the where, and why question during the sharing experiences that you're having, even if it's an activity that you're doing all of you together. But this is where you're going to be able to see who's listening and understanding what you're doing, what you're reading to them, right? Or any project that you're working on. As we move on, again, we're going to the second part because listening and understanding has also another benchmark, right? Again, we're focusing on how we increase the knowledge through listening. Okay, the other one was demonstrating. This one now, how do we increase? And guess what? One good example that I could give you on this one is when playing games require listening and understanding, like Simon Says. They all love playing Simon Says, right? Again, we want to increase the knowledge through understanding and listening because we want to see if they were able to follow those step by step. Also playing red light and green light. They all love that doing physical play. You could also see who's understanding and also following through the step by step and their knowledge of what to expose on that. And when we see it through kindergarten to third grade, we see it also that is communication and reading all the way to third grade. And they have their standards too. They have their benchmark just like us. So yes, ladies, 4-year-old has benchmarks and we have our standards and we have our components that you all should be following to adapt that on your wonderful lessons. The next one we're gonna go is already our speaking. Yes, speaking, right? So we have speaking is and understood when speaking. So speaking again is what? It happens in between what? Maybe familiar words that we're talking about, unfamiliar words, with families, with our friends, with our peers, and with our students. When you see that also on the standards, you see that the kindergarten all the way to third grade for them is communication. What is happening around it? Are the sentences being completed, right? Are we using the correct punctuation? How are we saying that, right? To the language also that is being said to those children. If it's on Spanish that you're doing, you're still speaking. If you're saying it in Creole, you're still speaking it also. As a teacher, you will wait, as an example, as a teacher, you will provide wait time for children to express themselves. Yes, Lady Anna and I, we've been in places, we've been in schools, and we see that the child comes and he has a story to say. She's like, dímelo después. Tell me later. The kid goes, like, oh man, I had something to share and now I cannot even share it, So wait time is really important, that you give that to your children. Now, how do we see it in the class connection? So we're giving you everything here, ladies, and we're just looking at the overall language and vocabulary through the class lens. This is amazing. This is amazing, right? And this is how we are trying to connect it with the rest of our lenses, right? Today's focus was on language and literacy components. We saw A, that it was listening and understanding. I gave you some examples of that, and you were able to see how the age progression goes all the way to 3rd grade. We saw speaking, we saw vocabulary, we saw sentence instructions that we told you, not just read book, no, extend that read book to more words, and also conversation. Just the way we're having conversations. And I see the chat is going, so much conversation happening there. That's how the way you're communicating there, right? So that's how the way we communicate with us too. But guess what? Class pre-K dimension, positive climate. Children must feel welcome and connected to begin having a conversation. If the child is not ready, the child is not ready. Let him have the time, and then you provide that service to them, right? Teacher sensitivity, talking with your children helps you understand who they are and how you're supposed to support them. Yes, ladies, that starts in the beginning, doing circle time, assembly, in the welcoming when you're taking out him at the car. Hey, say hi, how are you doing today? Did you get to eat some breakfast today? You're starting already your conversation there in the morning. Instruction and learning format, using children interested to create an engaging, fun way to introduce vocabulary and encourage that language also. That's where you have your pre-planning too. What book you're going to be reading, why you're reading the book. Porque está lindo, because it's beautiful and big. No, we got to be able to do the pre-planning and encourage what vocabulary you're going to be using, and also the child-friendly definition that you did all amazing with Anna. Also, the quality of feedback, listening and responding to children helps support their understanding as you address the gap in knowledge. Again, we're focusing on when we're talking about the language and literacy. Concept development, again, is really important, using conversation with children to help them use their high order thinking. And we just heard it from Tiffany on the opening session. High order thinking, that is super important, ladies. Anything that you do in the classroom, right? And also connected to their learning. How do you connect it to the real life? If Jose comes with the teacher, I want to talk about the dinosaur, and you're talking about something else, and everybody else wants to jump in the dinosaur, guess what? You're jumping up on that dinosaur too. Finding a book, finding magazines, videos, anything. And if you have it in dramatic play, and you have it in the science area, and you have it in the block area, you're bringing that to the table too, or to the carpet to have the conversation about the book, right? We don't want to kill the children's, ideas. We want to go on it. Yeah, you want to lead them, right? And then the last one, adding the language modeling. This is what we are saying, right? Model the language using a specific language and varieties, part of speech and vocabulary. Like I said, action words. The words that Anna gave you, we acted out. We do those acting in our session. We let them know, choose a word, do not tell us what the word is, and act it out. You could do that with your children. Create 20 words and have them practice it before they do it together in the whole class. It's amazing. Maybe you could do it with pictures, but again, you're modeling the language. If the child does not know how to do it, you are continuing providing that support, right? And again, if you do it more than once, you could do it more than once, that activity, right? With that, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for being here on today's session. I hope you all got to learn some new stuff, how we connected it, to the language leader that you like. I didn't know it was connected to class. Yeah, it's connected to all of them, but it plays an important part for each of our section. So with that, we just want to say thank you so much for being here on today's sessions. Yeah, we're getting so many hearts and some clapping. Here is our information. You have our email address. And also if you want to have, send an email to the VPK question, you have extra, if you want to have some extra support, you are more welcome to do that. And we want to wish you a great Saturday, ladies. Thank you for being here on today's session.
Thank you all. Don't forget to go to your closing session when you exit out of our session, and have a wonderful Saturday. Yay!
Thank you, gentlemen.